JSuttonDV is who I am. Born 1966. I am a mother of three. I have been married twice, and in the second marriage, I did experience domestic violence and domestic abuse in the form of emotional, mental, and physical. Where the physical part was the most difficult for me because it happened and it was real physical evidence that it happened, which then forced me to really look at the reality that I was emotionally and had been dealing with mental abuse for the 6 years of the relationship. Was angered to the point where he put all of his body weight on me, and I believe his intentions were to really hurt me and actually suffocate me, physically lifting me up off the floor by my neck, breaking my phone where he started to bleed, and dragging me out of the house downstairs and telling me to get the F out of the house. In that moment of dealing with him putting his hands on me, I did fear for my life, and I left for the weekend. And I immediately thought to go to my brother's house for safety, but I couldn't express to my brother what had happened to me. In that weekend that I was away from home, it caused me to deal with, because I had to say why I wouldn't go back to the house to my family. And in telling the story to his family, it then forced me to deal with exactly what was going on in the relationship, which then caused me to identify with the emotional moments and the mental moments that abuse was happening. And I never spoke of it, but I started to walk on eggshells from that moment. I was really physically afraid of him. Like, I really was afraid that anything I would say could trigger the type of response that I had gotten on that night. So I started to not respond. I believe that I really cowered down in who I was. It's very hard still, even now, 5 years later, to admit that I was scared, because that's just something that I didn't believe existed for me. When he did come and meet me and us considering me moving back into the house, he came to meet me and where was I living. And when he showed me that he had a small handgun, I knew that I could not expose my family members to this man who I could see was not rationally, emotionally, or mentally able to deal with all of what was happening. Because seeing the gun really afforded me to know he's emotionally fragile. And rather than thinking about myself and the safety of my little people, I still was thinking about him. While in Virginia, he returned from his deployment, but he was a time bomb. I could see that he was just on edge. And when I saw that what happened to me was about to happen to my little people, it triggered something that I knew I had to do something. And when my daughter said, "Mommy, I can no longer stay here, and if you don't take me, I'm leaving." And we were in Virginia. And basically what she said is, "This summer, I will not stay here. And if I have to walk to grandma's house, or however I have to get there, I'm going to get there with you or without you." And that for me was okay. And at that time, my mother was taking care of her 96-year-old mother who had dementia, and it afforded for me to have to come up to Maryland. I came and I stayed, and then my ex at the time said, "If you don't get back here, I'm going to have to proceed with the divorce." And I said, okay. It was as simple as that. It came out of my mouth like, okay, you have to do what you have to do. And for me in that moment, I had started to remember we had started counseling when he came back, and some of his behaviors were concerning to me, and it made me nervous. Like, for instance, there was a newspaper article over our headboard with a gun over top of the newspaper article that was specifically about an NBA basketball player who had put an assassin out on the wife and the mother of his child. She was pregnant and she was killed. And this gun was over this article. And I thought, why is this in my bedroom over my bed? And it was nobody I could talk to about this. So all of these things were just flooding my head. And I was like, I have to get out. I can't be in this situation scared and terrified for my life and for my little people's life. Somebody's going to get hurt. I can't go back. I feel that the abuse affected me emotionally and mentally first, where my self-esteem definitely was altered. The insecurity of questioning myself is undeniably, it's real. It's really real. I carry a lot of guilt for one, not standing up for myself. And I am very, very fearful to even allow myself to think about what could have happened. Well, first, I wouldn't even admit that it happened. Like, first of all, it's a very, very difficult thing for me to talk about because I can't believe it happened. Like, I really can't believe that it happened. And even that I sat through it for as long as I did, and I saw it like very early. I saw it almost within the month of meeting him. I knew that this was going to be an abusive and not good for me relationship. But I went for it anyway. I made a decision to see it through.